Have you ever experienced a true value conflict where two different values in you are pulling you in two different directions? Most of us had this experience, and usually it is a painful experience because we are constantly trying to figure out what is the right thing to do and end up spending a lot of time worrying in our heads, stressing out, and mulling over the issue over and over, trying to make a decision. This is posing a threat and challenge not just for you, not just for me, just about everybody. Whether you're a homemaker, a business person, a worker, employee in an organization, or an organization itself. And the inconvenient truth about this is that this cannot be discussed in a one video episode. So that is why I'm going to chunk this out in 3 parts. One is, what is the actual confusion in a value conflict? And clarifying the value conflict here. And there are many ways to deal with the dilemmas. So we will see confusion, clarification, and resolving the conflicts in 3 different parts. Let us see the first part of this process. That is, first of all, we need to understand what is the conflict here. What is the confusion? Is it a confusion between a value or life domains or goals? And what is the connection between these 3? My name is Brinda Kalyanaraman and you're watching EQ Hack series to improve your emotional intelligence. I'm on a mission to help women achieve freedom from stress, time and debts using emotional intelligence and digital entrepreneurship as tools. In the previous episodes, we have been discussing how to become aware of your emotions. That is the first step, being emotionally intelligent. How to help you label the emotions, both simple and complex, so that you will be able to notice your patterns as your hot buttons. And once you're able to read your patterns, you'll be able to read the same in others. Thereby, you're becoming aware of your emotions and people around you as well. Now, with this awareness, you will be able to manage your emotions well also. And that is leading you to the second step towards emotional intelligence, where you will be able to self-regulate your emotions. How to make greater choices, great decisions, how to create that influence within you and outside you. Using tools like optimism, practicing optimism, where you will find a larger perspective to what you do. So you'll be able to create a lot of options, because without having options in you, you'll not be able to choose an effective decision. And with that decision, you will be able to differentiate between the good feeling and the not so good feeling. And then you'll be able to transition using, navigating your emotions tools. And then how do you stay unstuck? How do you move from one position to another without getting stuck? Using self-motivation tools, intrinsic motivators. Now in that, we saw how values, defining your core values is vital. And how do you connect your values with that of your larger goals? How do you establish and re-establish your values, your why, constantly during the process? And now we will also see, how does the values have conflict with each other? Usually your dilemma in critical times mostly to do with your value system. And if you're able to identify that, you will be able to march towards your larger goal with less friction. And when your journey is less friction, people around you will also follow through, and thereby you're becoming an effective leader. And that's the whole point of self-management. Now in this video, we will see what is the actual confusion. Before anything else, you need to understand, you need to be very clear about the distinctions between values, life domains, and goals. If you understand the distinct differences between these 3, the so-called value conflicts will turn into something else. You will see that there is no actual value conflict. Instead, it's the amount of time and energy that you get to spend in those life domains is actually determining your conflicts. So you will get to know what is stopping you and what could be the consequences of your decisions. So here is a quick reminder of the difference between life domains, goals, and values. Life domains can be defined as your work, study, career, business, family, health, recreation, spirituality, marriage, parenting. And it's always best to choose your life domain first and then work on your values and goals within that. For some, they could also be emotional goals like achieving freedom, getting rid of that guilt, coming out of the painful memories, healing, self-healing. It could also be to improve self-confidence, self-worth, so on and so forth. Let's take an example of the work domain as work. So in that, my goals can be to get the job that I always wanted for, the money that I wanted to earn, the project that I wanted to complete within the deadlines. It could also be learning a new skill, learning new technology, gaining more knowledge and expertise, the promotion that I wanted, the strategies that I want to implement, the network that I want to build, keeping the health and security issues in check, so on and so forth. In the life domain of health, my goals could be to lose this amount of weight, do exercises daily, to eat more vegetables and fruits, to add nutrition to my meal, both for myself and family, having a healthy lifestyle habits. In the domain of family, my goals can be to make sure that I provide sufficient nutrition to my family, having a proper recreation plan, spending good quality times with my children and my husband. So these will add up to the goals in that particular domain. I hope this made sense so far. When it comes to values, values describe the personal qualities in me that I want to display in my actions. The person I want to be, the way I want to treat myself and people around me, the way I want other people to treat me. In the life domain, when it comes to family, my values could be being honest, kind, and caring. When it comes to the domain of work, I would like to display the values of fairness, trustworthy, and accountability. When it comes to health as a life domain, I would like to display self-care, compassion, and discipline. Now, once you're clear with the distinctions between values, life domains, and goals, the actual so-called value conflict is going to turn into something else different. For example, family versus career as a common issue. We all have this common challenge. Is there a true value conflict? It appears to be, but there isn't. It's not a conflict with pair of values. Instead, it is two important domains in life which is having a conflict in you. But if you actually see, it's not the conflict of values in it instead of your time management. How much your time and energy gets spent in each of these domains is going to determine how effectively you're managing yourself. How many hours in a week do you get to invest in your family, and how many hours in a day do you get to invest in your career? Your value in that work domain, like being fair, trustworthy, reliable, accountable, is not going to change whether you're going to work for 1 hour at work or 50 hours in a week. Similarly, your values in the domain of family, like being kind, honest, caring, is not going to change whether you're going to invest time for 1 hour or 50 hours in a week. So with this clarity, you then have a choice given your current life situation and the many conflicting demands around your family and career, the long-term goals that you have for your family and career. You're going to decide what is the best way to invest time in both family and career. By then, you'll be able to arrive at goals suiting both these domains, because both the domains are important to you. And that's why your values play a lot of role in maintaining the harmony between these domains. And of course, there won't be any perfect answers to it. You need to constantly experiment and see how much of your time and energy can be invested back to these important domains of life. You don't have to necessarily leave one or compromise with the other. For example, if you're on a business trip, you can always make time to call back your family or to tell a bedtime stories for your kids. But as a summary, so far what we have seen, we need to conclude that whenever you encounter a value conflict challenge, you need to make sure you identify whether there is the conflict between two values or it's the issue of how much time and energy you got to spend in two different domains of life. It's only after this identification, there comes the goal setting and action planning. Like how you're going to plan and structure your time, what amount of time you're going to allot for which domain of life, and what are your goals and activities for each of these domains of life. And you may need to experiment from day after day, week after week, month after month. Maybe it helps if you want to take a feedback with those people who are involved in those domains of life that you're dealing with. That will also give you a lot of perspective towards this, and you can retweak the way you want to spend your time and energy in it. But most important is that you also have to take consideration of the emotions involved. How does it make you feel good? And how is that making other people involved in that domain, making them feel good? You have to consider those emotions in play and to make sure there is a room for any uncomfortable feelings that could show up, and be compassionate to yourself when you're in this process. At this point, I would like to leave you with a simple formula as to how I deal with these general value conflicts. Let's say at workplace, you're dealing with a situation where there's a victimization, there's a bullying happening, and there's a lot of corruption, discrimination, and your value being honest, wanting to be fairly treated, all these things are coming up and you're boiling within you. But you can't decide whether to speak about it or not. Because if you speak up, you may be able to live up with your values, that is being honest and being fair, but may have negative repercussions. Like you may lose your job or you may be targeted, which is going against your self-care. But if you don't speak up, you may keep your job, you may be avoided being a target, but you don't feel good inside because you're not living up with your values, that is being honest and being fair. So there is an evident conflict in this situation. Am I right? And many of us, encounter this common challenges. I would like to attribute to actmindfully.com. Somewhere in a blog I read there is a 3-step approach towards this kind of a conflict. One is to identify the work domain that we are dealing with. Here in this example, it is work environment. The second step is to identify which two values are in conflict. Here in this example, being honest and self-care. The third is to consider the values like continents on the globe. And when you turn the globe, not all the continents is going to appear. Only one, and the rest of the continents are going to be behind the globe. So your values, value A is appearing before you and value B is hidden behind. But anyway, it is there. You can't ignore its existence. So when you turn the globe, the value B comes on the surface. So it is like having a rotation. One after the other, it is anyway going to pop up, and it is very important to address it. You cannot ignore. The best is to identify any goal or action which is going to complement these two values, not negating any of them. So in this case, we will see how value A and value B is going to complement each other and going to work simultaneously in your actions and behaviors. That way, right from your smallest goals to your larger goal, it is important to inject these values and working simultaneously. That is what is going to give you the fulfillment. For example, being honest. How can you display honesty at your work? That is to state your feelings and opinions honestly with people without endangering your self-care, without creating any damage for your personal security or job security. Thereby, both being honest and self-care is complementing each other. Let's see how honesty can be considered separately. The very way you approach your own feelings and emotions, both simple and complex, the very way that you're being honest to it, accepting the uncomfortable feelings in it, accepting your own flaws, accepting feedback from others, that is displaying honesty within yourself. And throughout the day, how you're going to live up with your value B, that is self-care, which may include eating healthy snacks, being prudent and conscious about where, when, whom you're dealing with, whom you're expressing your true feelings and opinions, and also making sure that you are choosing to be with whom you want to be and express your opinions in whichever situation you feel it is safe to do so. Now you'll see both honesty and self-care is complementing each other and at the same time being treated separately to make sure that it is giving you fullest fulfillment and making you emotionally intelligent. Now, this way, you will be able to manage both your own emotions and people around you very smartly. So this is being smart with feelings. Now you have to quickly self-check. Is there still a dilemma in you that needs to be addressed? For example, in this particular case, you have resolved the value conflict. That is, you found the ways that you can live in both the value A and value B in that important domain of life called work. So that you're neither ignoring nor denying. Now, you still have a dilemma whether to blow the whistle or not. Now, there are no perfect solutions for this kind of a dilemma, but if you have to face this, I would suggest you to stay tuned for the next part of this video, where you will know how to resolve such conflicts. If you really found this useful, all I'm only going to ask is record your experiences, comments below. I'll be more than happy to see that and draw inspiration from it. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon to be notified for future episodes. Stay tuned. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.